What's going on, everybody? My name's Danny, aka Captain Sin. This is Chatting with Captain, recorded live on Twitch, twitch.tv/the Captain Sin. My guest today is Holden McNeely. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Just try not to freak out about being a dad very soon now. Now it's very real.
Very real.
Sometimes, yeah, I feel like I'm able to be like, well, we still have Vegas. Well, we still have, we've got the move, and then we've got this, 4th of July or whatever. Now it's just like I find myself no longer with any kind of big events in between myself now and the present and this baby.
Right.
So I think, but I don't know. I'm also, it's weird. I know it's not a month off, but I am doing a month of paternity leave, like I just told you, and I am kind of in a way looking forward to just dropping everything and being like, all I have to do, I can even shit on the floor if I want. I just need to keep this fucking baby alive, right? Like that's it. That's the only thing I need to do. Nothing else matters. No emails or texts or anything, right? Like I just focus on this one thing. I know I'm going to be way more exhausted than everybody else, and it's not going to be easy, but there's some peace I've found in that, I think, in terms of how like hard everybody says it is.
Right.
Especially at first, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have any kids, so
Me neither.
It's gonna be a new one.
Yeah, it's a whole new experience. I mean, I feel ready for it. I constantly am thinking about, like, I couldn't imagine having a kid at 30. How old are you? You're young,
I'm 30.
right? How old are you? You're 30.
Yeah.
Could imagine having a kid even at 30. I definitely can't believe people have kids at like 23 or something.
Or 18 years old popping kids out. Like, God, I couldn't imagine.
Most of those people live two lives, though. They like get married and have kids in their like early 20s, and then they get divorced.
Right.
When they become the different person that we all become in our 30s.
Exactly.
And then realize, like, why did we commit this early? And then usually the divorce happens. And then, I mean, I think my parents are still married, which I think is kind of amazing. But I wonder, I think they still like I gotta ask, I think they still got married out of college at least, and like grad school even. Yeah, because they met my dad's a lawyer. My dad was in law school, and my mom was in grad school for social work at UNC Chapel Hill. So they were at least mid-20s when they were like courting. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like instead of just right out of high school, right out of college, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That's
crazy.
Like me and the wife, Brad out of hell. She was in the chat. We met.
Said hello. Hi, Brad out of hell.
We met when I was 20. My mind's blank when it comes to stuff like this, but we were together for almost 10 years before we actually got married.
Yeah, and that's totally cool, dude. I did the same shit. Was she pushing you before that too? Like Lexi was definitely like, hey buddy, timeline, what's the timeline? For sure.
Slightly.
Yeah. Well, you guys are younger again though. You're just like, when did we get married? I mean, we were into our 30s. I think my thing was, but take it slow, right?
Right.
I think my thing was my last relationship, I was very much in love, or thought I was, or whatever. And we lasted 3 years and then broke it off. And I felt like that was a really solid amount of time to know whether or not like this thing's got legs. If we're like not even thinking about, like not even having the kinds of issues that I had with my ex or whatever, in 3 years, we should be good to go. But that meant move in.
Right.
Then we moved in, which took, I think, a little longer than 3 years. Then it was, we moved in together, but we moved in together into a studio apartment in Queens. We made it through a year of being a couple in a fucking studio apartment, tiny ass studio apartment in Astoria, Queens, which was unreal, dude. I mean, we're talking earplugs, sleep masks. The sleep schedules were like totally different.
Oof.
It was fucking horrible. So then it was, all right, move into a 1-bedroom in that building. And then I think it was another year after that. So she was probably ready a couple years before, I think. And in fact, the night I proposed, I took her to a French restaurant. And for some reason, she thought I was going to like do it at the restaurant or something. And I went to go use the restroom. I did it like after we got back. And she went to go use the restroom. And she texted her sister, it's not going to happen. Which is fine. That just goes to show how much she was like, "Come on, fucker, let's do this." I'm a slope. I drag my feet. I'm a Capricorn, man, which I don't like. I'm not into astrology, but I definitely believe in the Capricorn ethos of the goat slowly climbing the hill. I like to slowly like work that angle until I'm fucking dead sure of something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
No chance.
I don't get into the whole what is that called? Like the horoscope type stuff? Like
No, yeah. Lexi loves it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm more like not necessarily I'm not into religion or anything like that. I'm into like energies, you know? Like I feel like if you're a positive person and you're always putting out positive energy, then you're going to receive positive energy back. If you're a shit person, you're always putting out shit energy, you're going to get shit back. That's how life works. That's just I always try to
What about when good things happen to bad people though, Captain? I mean, come on, what are we talking about?
Yeah, life does suck sometimes.
Guy fucking feeds orphans for 30 years straight, and then they're like, "Oh, you've got fucking knee cancer." You know what I mean? He's just like, "The fuck." I don't know.
Shitty.
Then they all help him. Then it's the redemption. They all show up at the hospital and like feed him, and it's a whole thing. We should write that. So I'm gonna say, yeah, I do believe in balance though in general too. Like, I was talking to a friend who was just having a rough couple of weeks, and I do think that and I came up with this like when I was a kid, and it was so. I had a bad way of describing it to friends, but I think a lot of people agree with this approach. Was like, there's sort of like a bunch of good things and a bunch of bad things kind of all in the mix, right? But it all balances. So like, but unfortunately that could mean like a really big bad thing could happen, and then it will balance out with a bunch of little good things that never feel quite as satisfying as the bad thing felt shitty. But at the same time, I do think that no matter what, it all sort of will balance out. But then the problem is the internet exists, and then someone will be like, yeah, but I just like have AIDS and hate and like everything is all, you know what I mean? And like a man kicked me for no reason at the store. Like nothing good has ever happened to me. You have to, with this many people in the world, which I've been thinking about a lot, because going to Vegas, you see a lot of people in one place, and it's terrifying. With this many people in the world, I mean, just there's got to be a few people who just get fucked by life.
It's not everybody's lucky. I mean, but social media is absolutely. It's been there's just so good, but equally so bad at the same time, because so many people who probably shouldn't have as loud of a voice as they do get a loud voice on social media. And it's just, ugh.
Yeah, I think I might. The problem is I use Twitter just to get the word out on stuff, but I think I need to move it to a different. So I have like a row on my phone, and essentially I wake up in the morning and I have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. And I kind of do it in that order usually, right? I go Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, then end on Reddit. Because Reddit's sort of like a sinkhole. You don't really want to start there. And you want to kind of only use it just for a little bit, because it can just kind of go on and on. And Facebook I get through pretty quickly. I just have muted anybody, and I don't have many people being awful. You know, I think through the Trump presidency, I ended up just hiding whatever few shitty fucks came through. I didn't even block them or anything. It's just like, you know what, dude, just hide it. Just let it think it's there and it's not. You know what I mean? Taking action beyond that is actually like giving it more power. Almost
right.
Like I never block people on Twitter. I just mute them, right? Because they can't see if they get muted, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? Just soft block them, because if you block them, then they got the thing they wanted.
Yeah.
They know you got to them.
They got the rise. Yep. That's exactly it. I feel like Facebook is the worst though for like the Trumpers.
I think well, Facebook's the worst for Facebook caused more problems actually in the world with QAnon and stuff, I think, and their lack of ability to like discern what the fuck they're doing over there with like regulation or whatever, or just being basically like weirdly helping the whites and not a lot of other like protect. It was like, we need to protect on here. The white people, like they all get protected. Like if you say, and I do hate when people go like kill all white men or some dumb shit, or like or like shit on just all of any kind of people, right? All if it's just all men are scum or whatever. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm sure. You know, and, by the way, which is the age-old thing where it's like, hey, maybe if everyone around you is crazy, maybe you're crazy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because I see the same type of person to say that about all men. And I'm just like, yeah, you seem fucking horrible to be in a relationship with. Like, as a person who's been in like a few steady long-term relationships, there's nothing about what you, at least the way you are, the way you present online, that tells me that you are at all emotionally, mentally capable of sustaining a relationship with somebody. Oh my God, dude, there was this one I followed. Do you hate follow and stuff like that? Do you do any of that?
No, not really.
I had a couple. This is a really eye-opening part of social media for me. So I had a couple of instances. The first one was this girl. The only thing I knew about her from my high school, I graduated with like 90 people, right? I always like to talk about how I'm one of those fucking private school pieces of shit, right? Because that is just the case. I had to diverge one more time, but remind me to talk about the girl that steals from my high school. That's the only thing we knew about her, is that she steals, right? And then I not connected with her on Facebook, but I started lurking her on Facebook and just paying attention. But before I get into that, one of my favorite things to do is embarrass all of my band members in the Cowmen, because we do Cowmen, Nightmare Country. We're covering 16 Tons by Johnny Cash. We're covering I'm singing like this. And it's this whole like aesthetic that we're like people from the salt of the earth, like dirt people. And then after songs, I'd just be like, I fucking grew up in an upper middle class household. I was, it was like my favorite childhood memory is that I got a PlayStation, a TV VCR. None of this is real. Like, it was so funny. I would make the other bands laugh and shit too, but I was just like, I went to a private school, so none of this is all a facade. Everybody, Holden, shut the fuck up. But going back to, I guess I could just say her name's Layla. Like, who gives a shit? She was like really into like fake essential oils, I think was her business essentially, and all that kind of stuff. I was textbook Facebook shithead, right? Got into a relationship with this guy. I think his name was like Cole. This is how vivid it is, even though this was 10 years ago. I was sharing this. I was screen capping these posts and sending them to Henry and my buddy Liz from high school. We just to talk about it because it was so public. I've never seen anything like it. They went on Facebook and would just have full on, either it would be paragraphs about how much they love each other, or it would be paragraphs, or they would have incredibly public fights on Facebook in the comments. Instead of like on the phone, they would have actual. It was so like slice of life. Like I felt like it was more entertaining than Reddit or anything. I would just spend hours reading because they would go on diatribes. I remember one afternoon, Layla was just like, just got out of work. It was like noon. You know what I mean? She's like, just got out of work and I'm drinking starting now. I'm slamming on some vodka. And then he responded to the comment. He was just like, baby, please don't drink vodka right now. Baby, you're gonna get too drunk. She's like, I do it. I want. And they just like went on this incredible. It was like, dude, pick up the phone and text each other. I was like given a gift. There was this other woman, a comedian in New York, and I won't say more than that because I feel like I will get found, or like I hope no one connects the dots on this. She just had a very public breakup with this guy online. He was, I think, well, and again, it would be like, man, it made me want to throw up. I think the whole me complaining about, I don't know, people have ever heard anything on my podcast stuff. I go on a lot of rants about like how I hate when people, and forgive me, you guys may have even done it with each other on Facebook. And forgive me ahead of time for this. When people say, give a long doting paragraph about their significant other and refer to them as my best friend, right? Which, by the way, I found a good replacement. Can we, at least for now, until it gets old? You're my fucking ride or die.
There you go.
Because that's what you fucking are. You're not my fucking friend. Friends are fucking whatever. You're my fucking ride or die. You're the one, besides my daughter on the way,
right,
that I literally take a fucking bullet for you. There's like 4 people I do that for. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's ride or die. It's not best. Best friends cheapens, softens it.
Yeah.
We get in the car and we ride until we die. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We ride until we motherfucking die. Anyways, but I digress. She got online and like just would go on these long tirades. And then and when you see it happen, you're like, what are you trying to prove? To yourself, to the world and to this guy. What's going on here? Because if this was real, this would be real. And you wouldn't be on here talking about how fucking perfect everything is to be in love and going on these long. It's like, who are you trying to convince here? Us or yourself? And then he cheated on her. and then she proceeded to flip the light switch and went on just these long rants. But dude, there was one time, and it was like the one time she would say, and I wish I had examples to tell you because they were really embarrassing. Like both the doting ones and the like fuck you posts were like really, really embarrassing and sharing a lot of intimate details. And I was like, how is no one getting her to take this stuff down? This is like so embarrassing. This is so bad. I would be mortified to be, if she was my friend, I would call her immediately and be like, dude, you've got to stop. Like, why is no one stopping this person? And then, and she has a daughter, and I'm like, I feel like her daughter's old enough to be friends with her on Facebook, and especially knowing that. One time she got on, and this post was the only time she removed a post. She went on, she was just like, I remember when you used to eat my pussy. Oh, you'd eat my pussy so good. You'd lick my... She was like angry, screaming about how good this guy was eating pussy, and how much he ate her pussy, and it was so, like, disgusting. And I'm just going to go ahead and say... Probably going to assume this woman is very on the unattractive side, right? We're going to go ahead and just assume that this is not someone that's like, wow, I really want to get in there. You know what I mean? And she just went on these long tirade about how good he was to eat pussy, but like angrily talking about it in this way that was so psychotic. And I'm like, is your daughter, like, do I have to call CP? Like, is your fucking daughter reading this shit right now? Because I could not imagine as someone's child reading shit like God knows if my parents had social media.
Oh, geez.
And by the way, this is coming from the guy that used to incessantly joke about wanting to fuck his mom, and it is all on recordings for posterity. That my child, in a way, I hope they will find it someday and listen to it because it is my document. It is my record.
I feel like there's just people who will post the dumbest shit on social media just for the reaction, the clout, just to say, my post got 10 likes and 20 likes, whatever the fuck it is. Because like people get off on social media anymore to a point that it's like they will do the dumbest shit just to get that reaction. And it's just like,
we were talking about that with a friend that we have that we feel like, you know, and it's not like a problem to have these opinions and stuff, but we feel like he's just going too far with the like rah women and feminism stuff in a way that is just like so performative. And I don't buy it when it's like that. Like, I just don't buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I know in my heart I am feminist, you know what I mean? And, you know, and I will, and especially when it becomes important to show solidarity, I like to do that. But when you're just constantly, you know, to use and all these words I'm going to use, by the way, are fucking obnoxious as shit, but whatever. It's what we use to constantly be signaling that shit is unasked for. Is so crazy. It's so crazy. Or people that like kind of soft cancel themselves. Like I had a situation where someone was like, I did this thing, kind of an Aziz type of story, right? Back in when I was in my 20s, I had this interaction and this is what happened. Like, dude, straight up, like, sort of just unprompted fucking was just like, here's my shit that you should cancel me for. We're just like, what? Yeah,
don't bring it up.
Happening? Yeah. And it wasn't even that thing. It was like I said, it was like an Aziz thing. I don't know where you fall on that, but I feel like Aziz was kind of done a little dirty. And I feel like with Aziz, we found the line, right? Where it's like, yes, it's pathetic to beg for sex. But yes, most of us did it in our early 20s at some point. All right? Come on. Let's be honest here, right?
I think it's crazy when you have the people that actually like dig into somebody's social media years and years and years and years and years back just to find that one something that they can attempt to cancel them over. Like, people aren't allowed to grow anymore. People aren't allowed to admit mistakes and grow as a human, because if you fucked up 15 years ago and social media finds out about it, you're fucked. Like, that's it. There's no growing.
There's 3 rules here that we're coming into, though, that I've thought about. I feel like a lot of people have spoken about. Rule number 1 is based on the whole Ellen thing and kind of the Aziz thing, because Aziz was also be good to women kind of comedian. and Ellen, the be nice to people comedian, right?
Mm.
Never put out a thing that you're not totally, or like never, like, you notice I don't, my whole mantra isn't like hug the world and like be, you know, and I don't like, that's why I don't like go out of my way to signal like uber feminism stuff constant or any of that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Or political stuff, because yeah, someone's gonna be like, okay, fucker, let's see how good you've been, you know, and go to and pick out some roundtable episode where I was talking mad and my character talking mad shit. Lexi was mad at me. I met her and her friends up and I talked about it in not a great way on the podcast, and she didn't talk to me for like 3 months before we actually started dating. I mean, I have it. It's in there, bro. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm just this perfect, you know, man to all women of the world and message all the women of the world and speak for all the women of the world too, and tell them how fucking, you know, how I'm on their team and they're and in a way kind of making myself their leader, which is disgusting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It just becomes obnoxious.
Or even just, yeah. So that whole thing. So that's rule number 1. What were the other 2 rules? Don't become too famous. Just don't become too actually famous, because it will get you the whole thing. And number 3 is, oh fuck, what was number 3? Don't become too famous. And I'm drawing a complete blank now because now I'm thinking too hard about it. But either way, don't become like that day's big meme, right? When did it happen recently? Like the guy that had the story about the girl, what was it, making the sandwich, his daughter like making something. What was that? God, what was that? Remember that? Or like everybody, I'm sure probably people, I'm not looking in the chat right now kind of on purpose, but I'm sure people might have examples of this. Like becoming the joke meme thing of the day on Twitter,
right,
can only mean bad news for you.
Oh yeah.
It can only be bad.
100%.
Oh, the guy who found the thing in the cereal.
Oh yeah, it looked like a shrimp or
the shrimp tail and the cereal guy, and then he got canceled like literally like 12 hours after he posted because they were like, hey, what about this fucking crazy racist shit you said? And he's like, fuck. And it never would have happened if he hadn't found a shrimp tail in his cereal and then like posted it and then like fed into it and made it got all popular for one day. He was canceled before I even learned what the meme was or whatever, learned what the story was.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. It's nothing good can come out of becoming like the flavor of the day on the internet.
100%.
It only can be bad. It's never works out for people. And then right now I'm watching this fight happen between and I'm going to try to like really not show me being on either side of this thing, because I really am just in the audience in the peanut gallery. Jesus Christ. The peanut gallery. I'm in the popcorn hut, just fucking hanging with the sprinklers. You know, they've got the mist sprayers, and I'm eating popcorn. It's getting it all wet. Yeah, it's just butter, just misting me in the popcorn with butter. There's this whole thing going on. I don't know if there's this festival in Austin. There are a couple of people that are always like fighting again. There's the Legion of Skanks, and then there's there's like a few people who are constantly like also going after or like criticizing them on Twitter and stuff, which just feeds the flames. And then the Legion of Skanks people and their fans come after them, and then they're like, look at all the terrible stuff their fans are saying to us, and then they're coming back and being like, this was, you know, this is like actually a good community with all. I'm not giving my opinion on any of it like publicly, because like who gives a shit? Or A, who gives a shit? B, it's just like all of it's a waste of time and it's all stupid. But I'm just watching it go down, and I'm just like, why am I even watching this? Like, exactly. And it is the only interesting thing. Like for me, when I'm opening Twitter, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing that's going on. And even I'm like, I kind of feel like I'm back at the casino. Like as much as I don't want to play into the game that they're trying to get me to play, I always end up playing into it. You know what I mean? That's kind of what Twitter's like. It's like the casino, right? You go in because it's the air conditioning. You go into Twitter, it's the air conditioning of social media in the sense that it just keeps you entertained. It keeps your brain off of whatever other bullshit. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm kind of playing their game right now. Like I'm getting riled up. Yeah. Or I'm getting, you know, flipping out about it all. You know what I mean? And it's very interesting. It's all like created by the same people who hate it. Like so much. And I mean, even we're technically feeding into it right now, right?
Yep.
Like,
yeah,
it's the comedians that are constantly talking about cancel culture that I feel like just make it a bigger deal than it actually is.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And even in their conversation, they admit that it's like Twitter's not real. Like, we shouldn't even be looking at this stuff. You know what I mean? It's going to be interesting in a few years. I hope things evolve for the better. And I think that it's very bizarre that we've all had to interact in this giant social experiment. And it's really just weird. I mean, obviously, a fucking attempted coup happened. and still we're not like, maybe we should shut this down.
No shit.
A bunch of fucking crazy people showed up at the White House because of Facebook, and we're not even considering regulations or changes. It's crazy. And we're all just like, well, thank God we got Trump out of there. It's like, oh, yeah, it has nothing to do with the fucking crazy platforms that existed that, like, built this whole thing. Did you watch the Q doc on HBO?
No. I try to avoid, like, I don't watch the news ever anymore. I completely stopped watching the news.
Me neither.
Don't follow politics anymore. Like, I try to just keep it all as far away from myself as humanly possible at this point. But I feel like with the whole pandemic and everybody being locked in, a lot of those people they were just like, their 3 or 4 Facebook pages that they followed and Fox News, and that was it. They were just so ingrained with it that it was almost like they were brainwashed.
I know some of them and like family, friends of family.
Yes,
yeah. Like
100%.
You want to think, you're like, that can't be it. And then you meet, you're like, oh yeah, you just really, you know. And the funny thing is, I think the best part was the person I was talking to was like, hey, I read everything. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, you don't. You read the worst side of the thing you disagree with.
Yes.
Like or I watch everything. It's like you go to MSNBC, which also sucks, and you go to like places that reconfirm your enemy is your enemy, even if they're speaking for. And that's always the worst thing. Is like I think that was one of the worst things to me about the Trump presidency was even the people I agreed with I came to hate because of the way that they acted on the way they spoke on social media. And I always say that I saw this coming a little bit. I didn't think Trump was going to get elected. That was a shock to me. But I saw this happening. Like, I saw the tone of like the liberal people I know. I know a lot of comedians that have pretty big reach as well. And I saw the tone become very dismissive, very like just snippy and snide, and the way it was like it was like it's our time now, so y'all need to fucking sit down. You know what I mean? It was like especially by like the end of the Obama. And by the way, I'm not talking about minorities. This is the funniest part. The people were white. It's our time now. You can't be like this anymore. You know what I mean? And being like, you know, and going back to the whole like, you know, fuck like all men or whatever, that kind of talk and stuff. And it's just like this is just gonna create a bunch of fucking assholes and not help you your cause. Like, it's not. And now they feel justified. Now these complete pieces of shit feel justified in their anger and aggression towards, you know, minorities and LGBTQ, because they're like, look at the way they're talking to us.
Yeah.
You can't tell me what to do. You know what I mean? It just came into that, turned to that.
It's gotten to a point to where people can't agree to disagree anymore. Like, if you don't agree with the mass opinion, then you're automatically an enemy. It seems like anymore. Like, people can't have their own opinion anymore because no, you have to follow our opinion or fuck you.
But also, this is the other side of that coin. Why? Who gives a fuck about any of these fucking opinions? Like, why does anybody feel like they have to have an opinion or at all either, though? And I think, honestly, that's the thing, right? I think people need to have less opinions because you're opining on shit you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Yes.
And unfortunately, in this country, and this is, I think, the big thing I've noticed that I've just had to come to terms with about Americans, right? I think it is different in different places. Not every different place, but definitely America is like a narcissist place. Like, it is a place where, you know, and I'll give an example for me personally. I don't think I fully understood like the whole trans thing until my direct connection with MJ at Page 7, who transitioned over the past couple years. But I mean, it's been like a lot, you know, there's been a lot of discussion about gender and stuff in that way with MJ for a minute. And unfortunately, I think it's a sad, true fact that pretty much all people in this, a lot of people in this country cannot attempt to understand something unless it's right in front of them and they're like connected to the thing in a human way.
Yes.
right?
I fully
So
agree.
and I think we have to start understanding that about the human nature of at least this like particular country. I do think like it is kind of a cultural thing. It is kind of a capitalism and me first kind of
No.
society thing that it definitely exists
Yeah.
in this country probably more than anywhere else. But you have to remember that, and it makes me annoyed that like like a guy is going to be homophobic until he has to deal with his gay son or gay daughter, and then realize like, oh, this person I love is that, so
Yep.
I not now I'm going to change, instead of having that empathy in the first place and understanding that like just because it's not your experience it doesn't mean it's
Right.
not real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I think that's the most. And like, how do we change that? And this is so funny, like me talking about this shit, by the way, because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But how do we change that is, I think, the key almost, because it's just never gonna like we're never gonna evolve if that's the way going forward always, right? Because how
100%.
are you gonna? I mean, other than just like I wish we had rules as a society, in the sense I wish everybody had to be a waiter for 1 year. I wish everybody had to be an educator for 1 year in this country. Like we have fucking forced, not in this country, but we have forced like servitude in the military in certain countries, right? Why not make everybody be a fucking like a middle school, elementary school, whatever. Teach adults. I taught adults for like a year. It was fucking awful. I've never had more
terrible.
respect for teachers. I couldn't fathom teaching kids, even though I've heard kids are easier than adults, actually.
Right.
But waiter for a year, educator for a year, and maybe like everybody should live in like New York or just a well-populated, diverse city for 1 fucking year. Because I think the problem is that all these people, the people that have these ideals, I feel like that I've come into contact, they like never left their hometown. They live in a very small hometown. It's like incredibly segregated. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just like, it's so based on one specific experience that it makes it really easy to be a racist piece of shit. Whereas... Yeah.
It's just passed along because they don't know any different, because it's just like their parents are just pounding it into their heads, their grandparents, and it feels like it's all just in the center of the country. It feels like the borders of the country are more diverse, but when you get into
there's
those,
always Florida, my friend, a little place called fucking Florida, brother. That place is definitely on the fringe and definitely probably the most fucked up. I mean, it depends on where you go, man. I do feel like the smaller the town, it's like a Rumspringa, but for living in a diverse, highly populated area. You know what I mean?
I live in like the smallest of small towns, and it's like Trump flag, Trump flag, Trump flag. Even to this day,
they still have it. That's
to
so
this
crazy.
day, it's like, oh,
That's
Jesus.
so
And then you
funny.
get these weird ass fucking people that have, what is it, Trump and JFK Jr. flags now, because that's a fucking thing. Because
Okay, so can you explain this? What is the deal with this JFK Jr.? This is a Q kind of conspiracy thing, right?
yeah,
That
they think he's still
or
alive.
something?
They think he's still alive, and they think that Trump and JFK Jr. are going to somehow be president and vice president this year.
Yeah.
And it's like, how fuck, you people are crazy.
Yeah.
You are absolutely just fucking crazy at this point.
Yeah, so what do you think? I mean, where do you think it's heading? Because I mean, this was such a big breaking point with the storming of the Capitol building, and kind of that sort of I don't know, that was sort of like the end of a chapter. I mean, what do you think this stuff is going to be a big part of politics and the division of this country, like still going forward, or do you think now that now that this kind of all hit the fan and the way that it did, that it's starting to dissolve and splinter out?
I mean,
this like weird, I guess what I'm saying is like this weird like conspiracy thing mixed with like the Proud Boy bullshit. And like I don't even know what it is. Like I have a fun story about that, by the way. You want to know my fun?
I feel like I don't know. It seems like since all these people were isolated for so long with just these thoughts just being pounded into their heads for years straight, when not hearing anything from the outside, that they are literally almost brainwashed in a way to where they won't listen to anybody else because they feel like that they're being attacked or some shit, or somebody's trying to take away their freedom,
Yeah.
It's just like, god damn, people. And it's a very large group of people that are all like that, which is a big issue.
I think it also, to me, at least from my personal experience, but I haven't. I'm sure there's wealthier people that also are like this, but a lot of it comes from, I think, like being so frustrated with the disparity of wealth in this country,
Mm.
and but just instead of like blaming like the people you should be blaming for that, you just weirdly blame like minorities. You're like, why? or queer people or whatever it is for like
Ugh,
making it so
yeah.
that you're not a millionaire at this point, that which you deserve or whatever, you
And
know.
the
Yeah.
whole we have to close the borders because all the foreigners are going to take all our jobs and blah blah. Like no, why?
So like here, I have a story. I hope this doesn't fuck me. I feel like they're no. Who gives a shit? All right. So I was directing a sketch comedy group in New York City,
Mm.
and one of the guys, my favorite guy in it. I thought he was so funny. I thought he had so much potential. He was a really funny character actor. He had some strong writing talent. He ended up leaving the group. He just wanted to break off. Definitely, there was a little bit of a warning sign. I remember one of the things I remember, but it wasn't that big. Like he wasn't giving me big red flags. But one of the reasons why he left was he had used the word cunt in a sketch, and like a couple people we're like, oh, it kind of feels useless, like the where it is. It just feels like unnecessary. Well, we should just cut it. Like, and he was like upset, like his work was being, his art was being tampered with. And I agree. I was like, yeah, it's just kind of and this is me talking. I'm like, yeah, I mean, just come on. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it needs to be there. It's just kind of there to be like, ugh, or it might throw people off. But that was about it. He leaves. He starts working with some other people. I come to find out he got kicked out of the UCB. I guess he said something offensive from what I heard around the grapevine. So this is all alleged or whatever and bullshit. I'm not naming names, so it doesn't matter. But just saying, like, this could be not real and just what I heard. So, but I heard that he said something offensive to like a trans person in the UCB community, and then they brought him in. They were like, and he had a run of his show at the UCB, which is not easy to do. Like you have to audition. It's a thing. If they give you a run at the UCB, it's like not really a thing, but it's kind of a thing for super low level,
Right.
Especially super low level people that don't take classes at the UCB.
Right.
That's like the thing, right? Because it's so pedigree there. And I can talk plenty about the UCB too, like that fucking place. But all that said, he leaves the UCB, decides to blame, liberal people for why he didn't make it in comedy, even though there's a place for you, buddy. I was just talking about it. Go to Austin if you'd like to check that out. But all that said, we come to find out this fucking dude, straight up, early days of it too. I watched the Proud Boy thing unfold because I was like, what's he doing? He was like kind of doing some comedy stuff on their site. He was definitely involved. Before I saw a news article about Proud Boys, before I saw anything, I knew all about him because I got morbidly curious, like what he was into. Craziest thing about that guy too, or the most fascinating thing about the guy that I don't understand if he has any self-awareness or not. His family, he grew up in a cult. He grew up in a cult. He grew up in the Moonies. Do you know them? I don't know. It's a cult. He told me all about it. Said how fucking crazy it was. How he got the fuck out of it. How like there's this whole journey he had. And it's like, do you not see what the fuck just happened, bro?
You went from one to
got out
another.
of a cult and you just fucking went to it. Like crazy. And he was like so proud that he got, that he like got out of there and found his independence. Crazy shit, man.
It is. It's nuts, and it is. That's like the whole Trump thing in general. It just seems like it's just one giant cult.
But it's even when we're talking about Trump. I feel like this is a conversation I would be having like 2 years ago. What is it now? I mean, you don't watch the news?
I don't.
Everyone's purposely ignoring what's going on. I think there's some people out there like screaming about something with Biden or whatever. But I think everybody was so exhausted by it. So.
I think
he'll come back.
I think he'll try to run again, and I think it'll be a fucking shitstorm of these people that are literally going to take the next 4 years and just prep for it, and they're just gonna come out in full force, and it's gonna be an absolute shit show.
You just made me realize. I think the 2024 election year might be the most entertaining, like crazy year in our history of election year of like
It's gonna be
right?
fucking insane
It's gonna be
because
fucking crazy.
these people they're still just like somebody in the chat said, it's an echo chamber. They're in their own echo chamber still to this day.
They're fired up, man. Dude, I got to be, oh man, it's one of the best days ever. 2020, whatever day that was. Wait, no, was it 2020? Maybe it was technically 2021. When did they call it for Biden? When did they call it for him?
It was January 2021, I think. I believe
right?
it was. I think it was January.
2021. No, wait, it was Lexi's birthday. Was it? November? No. What was it? It was some special occasion. I can't remember what it was, but it was some special occasion. I thought it was Lexi's birthday. They called it for Biden. I literally woke up to cheering in the street. I woke up to people just cheering, like the best sound to wake up to, especially after a year like that. And I knew almost immediately what it was. I remember I got up and I went to I had to get her an anniversary gift or a birthday card or something. Anyways, I had to go get her a card, and I just got, which was perfect because I got to just like walk down this street, and it was so fun to be in New York that day, bro. Like it was so fucking awesome to be in that city that day. I just can't describe it. Like I remember when Obama got elected, and that was an amazing day as well. An amazing night because they called it on election night for him, and we just went out and partied. But man, that vibe, I don't know if I'll ever catch a vibe like that again, unless I'm like there for like a big championship or something like that, you know, like some team winning that hasn't won in like decades. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's got to be. Like it was the most unreal, awesome vibe. We'll see. I mean, I don't know.
Around here, it was the exact opposite. It was silence.
Wasn't that fun though to see them all sad and stuff? Wasn't that fun? I just remember how assholey
they
were.
It was instantly
4 years ago.
Shit's fucking rigged.
Right, that was the problem.
They cheated and got fucking, you know, all the votes were counted wrong and all the faulty machines, and they shouldn't have mail-in votes and blah. Like Jesus Christ, people, sore fucking losers is all it was.
But that's fun. I mean, again, too, that was really fun to watch them be so awful about it.
It's ugh. That's the only word that comes to mind when I think about it around here. Is just ugh. And then there was somewhere, I don't remember where it was, I saw one of those people that sits on the side of the road with a van trying to sell flags. They had Trump flags, Confederate flags, rainbow flags, and blue line flags all in one thing trying to sell them all. I'm like, buddy, what are you doing here? Because you're kind of like you're off on like 12 different wavelengths here.
Making money, man. Just making money. Well, anyways, that'll be interesting, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's all crazy. Away from politics.
Please, I was going to say it. We got to move past.
When did you first get into Twitch?
2016, actually, which would be the year the fucker came in office. Yeah, so and I think one of my biggest pieces of advice to people, and I always think about this now, is like find out what you really want to do in this life, but like widen the scope and like learn how to pivot. So, and by that I mean the short answer is 2016, but I'll give kind of a little more of a backstory. By that I mean like went to Florida State. My number one thing was because I had like I think it's funny, like we need to teach people, I guess people know this better now than ever, like young kids. You need to teach people, because I always read this about comedians. Most comedians coming up like spend this whole portion of their like youth not realizing you could actually just go try and be a comedian. You know what I mean? Like that could actually just be a job if you wanted to actually pursue it. And I think that's changed a lot with social media, with more visibility, with influencers and streamers and the YouTube and the ability to put whatever up you want and yada yada yada. So at first I went to college being like, I need to be the serious actor. Like that's the only, that's the thing. I need to go get acting training and like do this kind of path because even though deep in my heart I wanted to be a comic and I loved comedy and stand up and sketch comedy and all these things, like I don't know why I didn't think I should do that. I think I got mad that like you don't just do that. You have to like go in some other way. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna like train and become this like professional actor. And then I got kicked out of acting school at the end of my sophomore year. I tried really hard, just didn't connect with the professors. Like I even did summer classes. Like I did everything I could to just stay in this fucking acting school and move forward in this thing. And so it was like this big disappointment. I felt like such a failure. And literally that night I had already scheduled my buddy John Moreno, who I do my Tuesday streams with, the Among Us streams. He was like, let's do this improv show at this bar and like just signed me up for it, booked me for it. And so I literally that day I got kicked out of acting school. I went and did the show, killed, and like had this holy shit moment of like, what the fuck am I doing? This is what I want to do. Cut to, we get Murder Fist together. John and I kind of started it. We formed Murder Fist, bring the guys in. Ed was our weed dealer at the time. Henry was just like the guy. Like Henry was just, I saw him in a show and I was like, I will do anything to get this guy. I know that this is the guy. This, that, and the other. We formed this group, started doing shows in my parking lot of my apartment complex, like just super guerrilla shit, super fun. Also got a regular show after that at the only gay bar in Tallahassee, at least at the time. It's called Brothers. It was awesome. The green room connected to a liquor store. It was fucking crazy. They just gave us like, and I think it was another Tuesday, gave us Tuesdays. We would rehearse on like Sundays. We'd go in and do a sketch show every Tuesday. And that said, after that, all right, we're going to go to New York and we're going to get a show on HBO. We're going to get a sketch comedy show on HBO. That's it. That's all I saw. That was it. Which is so funny. Like, didn't learn my lesson. Go to New York, establish ourselves a sketch group. Became one of the more known sketch groups in New York at that time, Murder Fist, and had opportunities and like got far and like had meetings. We took meetings with like Comedy Central. We like got into rooms. We pitched. We got management. We had shit. We had shit going, but after a while, it kind of appeared they sort of plugged Henry out and. Kind of, I don't know, just the way it worked out. But it's show business. This is the way things work. Right. And Henry also, like, especially at that time, worked harder than us in a lot of ways. Like, and was doing, like, fucking chaos magic spells to get cast and shit. I mean, he was obsessed. Like, right. He knew he could, he kind of had this a little confidence and ability to audition and stuff before a lot of us. And, that was a bummer. And at the same time, we did, we started doing Roundtable of Gentlemen and things like that. And which is so funny because, and then like last podcast, again, talking about pivoting, totally not the number one thing, at least for Henry when they started it. Right. Murder Fist, like sketch, like the comedy scene, you know what I mean? Right. Podcasts were like, we didn't even know what podcasts were, right? So last podcast, then all of a sudden, holy shit, what is happening? Last podcast it becomes over time, a very long period of time, by the way. Anybody who's listening to this and thinks that it just happens overnight, took years. But it became like the craziest, hugely successful thing out of all of the projects, except for maybe Kevin Barnett, who was like getting shows picked up, and like he was the first one singularly to like just be doing crazy shit. You know what I mean? Like career-wise. So talented, rest in peace. And so either way, I found myself in 2016 now, Murder Fist is completely collapsing. Like, Ed's doing all this work for Jeff Ross. He's like out of town all the time. Henry is now, obviously, Last Podcast is taking over. And, it's what I thought was the thing, which was getting a sketch comedy show on television, was clearly just becoming not the thing. Then, again, didn't take my own advice and was like, writer's room. That's all I want to be. I just want to be a writer. Like, I just want to be a writer in a writer's room. I want to do the thing I hate in hindsight, which is have a fucking 9 to 5, which I fucking hated. I was working, and I mean, they're essentially 9 to 5. They're like 10 to 6, but they're essentially a comedian getting a 9 to 5 job. And I'd already been working in offices. I'm miserable. I am miserable. I'm in an insurance office. real estate insurance. I want to die. I every hour is a nightmare. I hate it there so much. Like, I have like one friend there. I like my supervisor. It's just not. I know it's not what I want, and I know, and I feel like at least everyone around me is becoming hugely successful, and just killing it. You know what I mean, in life, and making big moves, and I feel trapped and stuck. And that is when I learned to pivot. And I think I learned to pivot because I read a book, a very important book that I think there's like 2 books that were like game changers for me. The Easy Way to Quit Smoking by Alan Carr. No, I'm not making a Proud Boy symbol or whatever. White supremacist. The Easy Way to Quit Smoking by Alan Carr is how I quit smoking, period. And I was a pack a day. I tried everything. I thought I was going to be a slave to that shit for the rest of my life. And I read one book, and it changed everything. And The Artist's Way. It's by, I forget the name. If I could look it up really quick, I think it's like James Cameron's like ex-wife wrote it. The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, James Cameron's ex-wife. And this book, I didn't finish it, so actually I've been thinking about restarting it because it's kind of like I believe it's like a 12-week program essentially. Like, it's not like you read the whole book in a week or something. Like, you read a chapter a week and you follow the chapter. Like, the chapter will have you doing some exercises. But every week, and this is out of pure desperation. I'm like, I need to get out of this fucking day job. I don't know what the fuck to do. I can't get in a writer's room. I just can't get anything going. I'm losing my mind. And so I read this book, Artist's Way, and 3 important things it had you do was, morning pages, which I want to get back into doing. You just write stream of consciousness for 3 pages, like right when you get up. Just write for 3 pages, maybe get a cup of coffee, but I would do it when I got into work, so I would travel for like 30 minutes and then do it. But first thing, write 3 pages stream of consciousness every single day, just period. And there's a lot of reasons for it. It's awesome. It just really is helpful. The second thing, I think the most important thing, especially for the pivot discussion, is it had me praying every single day. And now, with that said, not necessarily to even a God. Like, even she is like, it's not a spiritual thing per se. I mean, yes, it is, but it's not like, this isn't indoctrination. This is like, find whatever power you have, kind of like an AA, to like submitting you to a higher power kind of stuff. Like, but whatever that power is, it's just like, whatever you want to pray for. Nature, fucking who cares, right? Just pick something. But what it had me doing every day, I think when you pray, at least if in my situation, you pray 2 ways. You go, every day I would pray that I would think of the things I'm most thankful for in this life. And then the second thing I would do is pray for the things I want in this life, right? So, like, I'm thankful for Lexi. I'm thankful that I have job security, whatever it is, right? But then also, like, and I really want, and in the beginning, it's like, I just, please, God, whatever you want to call it, God, please just get me into a writer's room. Like, get me, I just, like, I want to get in a writer's room. I want to get, but every day, it started to change doing it every day. Every day it was like, by the end, I was like, I just want to live a creatively fulfilling life. I just want to live a life where I get to express myself and have fun and do these things that I love and, and incorporate the things that I love in this life for a living, and that's what brought me to Twitch. And that's what brought me to Wizard and the Bruiser, was being like, well, I was also just seeing what Last Podcast Left was doing and be like, I should just do that. And then Marcus was like, yeah, you should do that. And you should do it with Jake. And it should be like, he kind of put us together. Right. But anyways, it really helped me realize, like, and that's where I come back to that thing that I talked about way long ago, which was widening the scope. And actually thinking about, like, what, like, why are you dissatisfied? Like, what do you need? It might not be having a career that you love. You know what I mean? For me, it was that. I just needed that. You know what I mean? But I think praying every day just forced you to just hone in on what you want in this fucking life and what you are thankful for in this life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which kind of leads toward the dumbass, like, spark joy shit, but it allows you to simplify in your life, in your mind, what you truly are thankful for. And then that kind of allows you to understand what's important and what's not. You know what I mean?
Right. I kind of like went down the same path for the most part, where I was like, I wanted to entertain people, I guess. Like, I wanted to make people happy and stuff. Like, I wanted to be in a band for the longest time. That didn't work. And then I was training to be a pro wrestler.
What'd you play?
I played guitar.
What'd you play?
I still play
Nice.
guitar. Yeah, it's
Nice.
yeah. And then I trained tried to train to be a pro wrestler for a little bit because that was a thing. That didn't happen. And then
what was your character?
I didn't have one. I was
okay.
just trying to get through the training. It's funny though because some of the guys that I trained with are in WWE now wrestling.
Oh wow.
It's crazy. It's absolutely
That's
crazy. But then one of my old roommates is actually a full-time Twitch streamer, YouTuber. Like that's all he does. Like, so I was like, all right, I'll jump into Twitch and see what happens. And it was just entertaining people and giving people a place to come to have a good time to where they can escape from the bullshit of life.
Yeah.
And it's worked out so far. I mean,
yeah, and you know, the another thing, going back to the writer's room dumb idea I had in my head, because now I don't even think I want to be in a writer's room, is like, I also, a big important thing was like, I don't want to be on anyone's fucking schedule but my own.
Yes.
I don't want to have authority in my life. I hate authority. And I think I was able to hone in on that with, and why I was drawn to Twitch so much. Like, and especially after a decade or more, maybe even 20 years of being in a sketch group and really not having just full control of anything creatively, where I'm constantly needing the group to go along with whatever I want or whatever before it can happen, right? And feeling frustrated at people who like weren't picking up the weight in ways I wish they were, this, that, and the other. It's just like, why the fuck am I even wasting my time with? Why not just do my own thing? Why not just have faith that I can do my own thing, right?
100%.
But definitely the schedule thing was one of the biggest revelations in the whole like praying every day thing, was just like coming to the realization, like, I want to be able to just not have to be somewhere at a certain time every day. Like, I just hate it. I like my schedule now. It's not that I don't like to have things scheduled. Like, I actually am very much a creature of habit, but no day is exactly the same. I've got like page 7 on Wednesdays. Usually we did it yesterday this week, which again is a thing you can do, which is awesome. Just be like, hey, I need to go on vacation. Let's do it a day early. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like having that ability. Wizard and the Bruiser and maybe Pop History, depending on the week, on Thursday. You know, and then I have my stream schedule, which I'm very much anal about. Like, I hate missing streams. So I went live last night at like 9 p.m. because I was like, I cannot go another day without streaming. Like, this is too important to me. I've missed too many days because of vacations and stuff like that. So yeah, I like a schedule, but I don't like someone else's schedule, and I hate bosses, and I hate rules that mean nothing, that we just abide by because the boss said we have to abide by them. I get very frustrated with that kind of shit. Like my boss at the last company I was at was a hothead. I mean, it was really annoying too how like, and he was actually, I always preface like, this guy actually did take really good care of us. At the same time, he like protected his employees a lot of times, but he would also do the thing where you would hear him get his shit handed to him by some other business person on the phone, and then literally call someone into his office to scream at them about something completely unrelated just to do the power play. Like, you just saw it happen, and you're just like, you fucking piece of shit. Fuck off.
Oh god.
I also, just to round out the artist way thing, I just want to really quickly say, because I said in the beginning there were 3 things you had to do every single week. The third thing, and I think it is important to note, was the artist's date. Take yourself on an artist date. And what that meant was like, take yourself to a museum, take yourself to a park, take yourself to a movie, take yourself to something that's like enriching for you and just for you. Nobody else. Don't bring anybody else. Give yourself like a personal activity experience that is like gonna, be fulfilling and meaningful in some kind of way outside of just like, shopping or something. You know what I mean? Like, go, like, give yourself an experience every single week of some kind. It's like a different kind of self-care for the creative. Right. We got to go to museums. We got to people watch at a park. Like, if we don't do shit like that, we're not going to have shit fodder. We're not going to have, so I just think, and it just opens up your mind a little bit in ways too. It's just kind of to go out of your comfort zone and like, be like, yeah, I will go alone to a museum and just like give myself a visual treat. You know what I mean? So anyways,
I actually for 10 years did like 12 hours a day in factories all my 20s.
Wow.
From the time I was 19 to literally 30, it was just factory work. And then COVID happened, and that was literally the best thing that has ever happened in my fucking life was a pandemic.
And you and a ton of people, man, because even now they're still quitting. There's still mass quitting stuff.
Yeah, and it's like
you know.
I was like, all right, I have this time. I was getting paid from work still, and at time at home, I'm just gonna focus on all of this. And it got to the point to where in January I was going to quit doing all of this. I shut all social media off my phone. I fucking walked away from everything. I took 2 weeks to myself in January of this year just to like focus because I just had to get away from everything. And now 6 months later, I have fucking interviewed some people from some of my favorite bands growing up, and now they talk to me regularly. It's fucking weird, but it's like manifestation. I like truly believe that if you have to manifest what you want, you can't just like, oh well, hopefully this will happen. No, you have to fucking full on just go at it because it's not going to happen on its own.
So yeah, also I will say I should go back to 2016 really quick in a sense to say it wasn't like I was in this situation. I was like, I have to pivot, and then I chose Twitch and I chose the pocket. No. I did like 100 weird things.
Right.
I was teaching sketch comedy classes. I was directing a sketch group at the Pit, the People's Improv Theater. I tried this really weird thing by the creators of Vine, who I got connected to through Henry, actually. They were doing this thing before they did. So they did that trivia game. Remember the trivia thing?
Oh yeah. I know.
Where they give away like thousands of dollars every day.
Oh,
HQ trivia.
That's what it was. I used to fuck with that.
So the same people who invented Vine invented that. But in between those two things, they invented hype. And I was doing hype with them. And what's funny, by the way, you'll like this. I got to go to the offices after they created HQ Trivia and watch them do HQ Trivia, like shoot, like live. Like nice. I gotta like go to the offices and see what's Steve or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or no, actually, it was because I think they had Jeff Knightley there, and the guy who I was connected to knew I was like a big in the game stuff. So he brought me over to meet Jeff Knightley and like watch him guest host, I believe.
Cool.
Isn't that the guy who does the award shows?
So yeah.
He was really nice. He was really, really nice. Got to tell him about Wiz and the Bruiser and stuff. It was cool. But that said, before HQ Trivia, they had this failed thing called Hype. And Hype was essentially like if you took OBS and you put it on your phone and you like streamlined it so that anybody could kind of have a pop-up streaming show, like pop images up and pop video stuff up. And, it just didn't quite work. I think it took too much. It still took too much work for what a mobile social media app should be, which is like you pop it open and you just do the thing. And then, like TikTok, it's like so automated and, and even though the people who are at the top of their game with it have it, are like on a high level, there's still like a higher level of production on it. But at the end of the day, everybody can kind of just jump in. Whereas Hype was just a little too much of a barrier, and it just never caught fire just in general and failed. But that was the thing I was doing like 4 days a week. I was doing this like video game show called The Game Guru for like 4 days a week. It took like an hour of prep, and then it would be like a half an hour little like video game review show thing. That was one of the many things I did during that year. Like I tried fucking everything that year.
Right.
But it was Twitch, and it was the podcast. It was the Bruiser that really felt like the green light, right? Like the way to go. And it really came subtly. Twitch even too was not something, again, it was like going back to last podcast being like the sleeper thing that caught heat. Twitch, I was just doing a once a week stream with Lexi called Lexi Loves Game Night, and we played through all of Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII together every Monday from like 9 to 11. And after a while, like Lexi was kind of started just getting dissatisfied with our couch. It was her couch, and she kind of mentioned, be like, "Oh, we need a new couch," not even thinking about it. And after a while, like our chat was just like, We'll throw down money for a couch. Like we literally had never even thought about it before. We were doing it for money. We weren't doing any of it to actually get paid. And we're like, really? And then we just like put a PayPal account link up. Not even like Streamlabs or anything. This is all on my PlayStation 4. It cost me $40 to start streaming on Twitch. Wow. I mean, I already had the PlayStation 4, so I guess if you add that in price-wise, but I had already had that for like a year or so at that point. So it cost $40 to change my life, essentially. I got a PlayStation camera, started streaming it once a week. We started talking about the couch. They said they'd throw down. We were like, okay, put a PayPal link up and a goal. We got our new couch in less than a month.
That's crazy.
And then it just dawned on me. I was just like, oh, okay, if I can, and it just so happened my work was putting pressure on me, being like, you need to up your game, or you need to get out of here, essentially. Like my work, it was kind of the best day thing that, just like you were talking about the factory job and pandemic being the best thing that happened to you. My supervisor called me and was like, you can either walk, we'll give you till March, and you can leave. Well, you can walk in March, or like we're gonna need you to up your game. And then I had a meeting with the big boss. And he was like, we're going to have when you come in on Monday, we're going to have a meeting with everybody in the company. They're all going to go around the room and tell you what you'll be doing for them moving forward. It was for like a small, by the way, this was all due to a small raise I was being given. Like not even that legitimate, and his theory, which was kind of true, but I did my job, that I was not working enough, which I did pretend to work quite a lot, which is awful, which is the most soul sucking thing, by the way, you can do. I think it's worse than doing a job you hate, is pretending to work at a job is the worst feeling ever. But that said, walking in on Monday and being like, don't worry about the meeting. I'm out in March. I'm done. I'm out of here. It was the best feeling ever. And around that time, I was like, if I can raise up enough money for a PC, for a gaming PC, because I was still fucking streaming on my PlayStation, I will quit and become a full-time streamer podcaster. I got the money in, I think, a month and a half for a full-on gaming PC.
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I get emotional thinking about it too. It's changed my life.
It's awesome to have a group of people that are just that supportive around you, or it's a community. Having your own community to support through all of that.
It's the best. It's the greatest thing that happened in entertainment. All of us, and this is still the way for all of us. Henry's gotten a couple of shows on television, but still the industry fucking doesn't like us. There's so many people like us in this situation, dude. The industry doesn't get us. They have no idea what to do with us. And it used to be, if the industry gave the gold watch to fucking 10 people or whatever it is, to 100 people a year, and everybody else is just fucked and can't do anything because they're the fucking people, they're the gatekeepers. And then it almost seemed like overnight that 100% changed.
Yeah.
And we just got to, as a community, decide who we want to give our money to, instead of just to a giant corporation that chooses for us what we get to enjoy on television or whatever.
But at the same time, with Twitch, that still does kind of happen. They will they will push certain channels out forward, any place is going to do that. But with this, anyone could do this if they really wanted to. There's you don't have to have really a special talent to be able to do this. As long as you have the passion to do it, you can start off with just an Xbox and an Xbox camera and go.
Totally. The other thing, though, I always have to talk about, because there's so many caveats to this shit, I wouldn't have had an audience at all if it wasn't for Roundtable.
Right.
If I and that's the funniest part, and this rarely happens, by the way. I talk about it like it happens all the time, but when people come in and be like, I wish I could play video games for money. And then I'm like, all right, all you have to do is comedy for free in New York City for a year while holding down a full-time job on top of that. Just do that for 10 years. Feel that. Feel the pain of that. That is was so hard. And I say it was so hard. It was also fun as shit. I got to, doing comedy and being in the comedy community in New York City at a time where it was really fun to be in the comedy community. I'm talking, regularly seeing Michael Che, Mark Normand, Dan St. Germain, and just all these Kumail was like a regular buddy we saw at the club, like, and hung out with, and his wife Emily, who's amazing, and Kurt Braunhaler. I mean, these were incredible people to know as colleagues. And so it is so worth it and so great, but it is a fucking nightmare doing comedy in New York. It's fucking crazy. People are crazy. It's insane. Audiences don't give a fuck. Like, it's amazing. It's like, go do that. But also, if you do that, like, I also feel like I'm more fun on trips because I did that. I'm more like adventurous. I just don't give a shit in ways that I feel like my parents do. And so in the sense of like travel and like experiencing new things, you know, because I had to keep getting up on a stage in scary venues, you know, for years and years and years, and bomb or do great, or so yeah. But anyways, yeah, I think that's also important too. I think it's important to remember that even all that shit you did for free for years, and that's why I think it's kind of like I feel like people need to remember that when like no one's watching your stream and stuff like that. Like, it's not useless time, and it's not worthless time,
Right.
You know? I mean, we did Roundtable for no one for so many years, and that was some of the most fundamentally important shit for my career. And the other guys in Murder Fist that weren't doing a regular podcast all that time, I feel like they haven't had as many opportunities as we did just doing that podcast. It was fun as shit, going to the Creek and the Cave every Sunday and going into that basement and cracking open those Tecates and just shooting the shit for an hour. It was fucking fun, and it was a fucking great way to end a week.
Right.
So it wasn't like hard work per se, other than you just had to show up, man. You got to show up.
Right.
And
right. Yeah.
yeah. And it really does change like, you just have to put the time in,
have to
man,
be
just like anything else.
100% have to be committed.
Yeah.
I actually got to a point where I shut my viewer counter off, completely shut it off. Like,
yeah, it'll fuck with you.
It will 100% fuck with you. That, and for anybody who is, you know, thinking about jumping into Twitch, gifted subs can be a killer for your motivation, because you'll start off, you'll hit affiliate, and then everybody will want to like, here's a bunch of support because you just hit affiliate, so we're going to gift you a bunch of subs, and your sub count will skyrocket, and you'll be like, oh shit, this is going to be great. And then they all drop off, and you instantly think, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And it's like, no, that is the way it happens. It's just, that's Twitch.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Completely. It's all like, I don't know. I mean, you plateau and and it moves again. And I mean, it's become of external circumstances too, a lot of ways, or because, did I say because or become? Either way, it's a pandemic again, like talking about like benefiting from pandemic, but it did. Our numbers did for sure. Like, that was a turning point kind of quickly, where it was like, wow, numbers kind of doubled. But I mean, I was streaming for an average of like 30 people every day for a year, you know what I mean? And then now it's higher. It's not that much higher, even depending on the stream. But you know, that was the way it was. It was like I remember, because I always remember we were always happy to get 69 people watching Jackanese on Fridays. That was like, hell yeah, our 69, like that was the number. And now it's like it's like doubled, right? Over time. Now it's more on average over 100, or even into the 200 people watching. And
those are crazy numbers, though. Like, that's, if you really look at the grand scheme of Twitch, like having,
I never thought I'd even get there. Yeah, I really didn't. I was just like,
what is it? 100 viewers or something like that. You're in like the top point percentage, like 0.2 or 5 or some shit like that.
Right.
Because there's like, I think it was every day there's 1 million or 2 million people that stream on Twitch every single day. And to be in the 0.5% of that is just, it's mind blowing.
It's awesome. Yeah. But again though, it's like, it's also, I feel like advice for me for people streaming on Twitch, like, do other stuff too. It'll all feed in.
Yes.
Like the Wizard and the Bruiser. I mean, people regularly pop in just saying, I'm a fan of Wizard and the Bruiser, and this is my first time catching you on stream, right? Like, how that happens now weekly, I feel like.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's all that other stuff you do.
Yes.
That like it all feeds in and connects and does the whole thing. Because I didn't sit down and and say like this is my brand and this is my, you know what I mean? None of that was calculated.
Right.
I literally said on a Facebook post, Holdenator's Ho, that's what I call my new fans. That's what I call all my fans, as a joke, because I didn't think I had any fans. And then it kind of took off.
Right.
Like, I literally said it as a joke, like, because I literally thought like there was no one listening. and then, stuff came, slowly built from that a little bit, or people kind of got behind that. And then I looked back and I was like, oh yeah, that was like building a brand. I didn't even realize I was doing it. I was just throwing shit at the wall until anything happened.
There's There's definitely, you definitely do have to bring an audience in from outside when it comes to Twitch. There's really no, I mean, I'm not gonna say there's no,
unless you're incredible at
Call of
Counter-Strike or Street Fighter or whatever. Like,
yes.
Unless you're just one of the best Street Fighter players in the world, and then go, have a following.
The natural growth on Twitch it really isn't there, unfortunately. And it's even worse now because, people were off and now they're all trying to stream. But then now you're seeing all these people who are like, fuck, I have to go work now. And now they're all selling their stuff and the numbers are starting to kind of come down a little bit. But
yeah, I noticed the tip of my numbers and I'm like, dude, go out.
Yeah.
Go into the world. Like, please, if you're not here on a Friday, I miss you, and I'm going to keep being here, and I'm always be here for you on a Friday if you don't have plans. But I was hoping to see a dip, because that was going to mean to me that people were going back out into the world and experiencing life, But I don't know. It's been like kind of a pretty magical ride. I just hope it sustains. I mean, honestly, like, we felt it going to Vegas. I mean, it was me, Henry, and Ed, and like Kissel, and we're literally like, this is the first vacation we've ever gotten to just be on after all of the hard work we put in, and after all of the, we weren't people that went on vacation because we're trying to attain this like impossible thing. And it was such a meaningful trip in that sense, just to say, like, we fucking got here, man. We did it. We're adults on a vacation that we earned with our own money, and we're not even having to be like cheap about the vacation. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're not like spending. I mean, Henry, those guys are a little tough, but you know what I mean? Like, we're not even going like, we're not even like having to cut corners. We're like staying at a nice place. We are going to a really nice like steak dinner for one of the nights. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like all, it's all pretty incredible for a bunch of kids who are like just fucking total fuck ups, like the rejects of this theater school that created a sketch comedy group and then had a fucking wild thought to move to New York and try to do it there. I mean, it's just so crazy. Decades of being broke.
Feel all of that, being the kid with the painted nails at the Christian school and all that.
Have y'all ever thought about leaving Ohio and like checking out some other kind of crazy place? Or now, especially now that if you get this off the ground enough, I mean, you're mobile at that point.
That's one of the big things. Like, I would love for this to take off so I can just, wherever I want to go. But at the same time, I would kind of like to stay around Ohio because my mom has ALS and leukemia.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to be like
stick around for that.
Super far away. But at the same time, I feel like this area is kind of stifling creativity because it's just like you're looking at the same boring shit every single day. And
like working in an office. Yeah.
Or slaving away in a factory.
I wrote a like pilot at like an office job, and it just was fucking horrible because like you just can't be creative in those. They like purposely make those spaces to be like creatively deadening.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If you work in kind of a traditional office, you're not working in like, but then I almost find the other one worse. The ones with like the candy room and the fucking like ping pong table. Because I'm just like, what is this shit? And at the same time, one of my big other pieces of advice for people is definitely hate your day job. If you want to if you have a dream, at least like don't hate your day job. If you don't have a dream, you just want to like have a secure life and, maybe try to like it. But if you do have a dream that is like a big creative thing or something like that, like definitely do not get that copywriting job or something that's just entertaining enough or just creative enough where you're like not completely dissatisfied at all hours of the day.
Yes.
Like you kind of need to be like, that is what really pushed me to get off of it was almost like career nirvana, like how, Buddhism is like life is like constantly dissatisfying, and it's this constant cycle of rebirth, and nirvana is like leaving the rebirth cycle essentially.
Mm.
And that kind of is what it felt like, the hamster wheel of working bad temp jobs and shitty desk jobs. And like my career nirvana was that exit, that actual like day I told my boss I was going to leave. But I don't think I would have had that same push and desire if I wasn't just at all times miserable at that place.
Yes. You have to go through the bad times to appreciate the good times. And I personally feel like if you're doing something like maybe like Twitch, I guess, celebrate every small victory that you get. Like, don't think, oh well, I had 10 viewers today, and then, oh well, that's not a lot because X person gets 1,000 viewers. Like, no, like, fucking be happy that you are doing it.
I had 10 when my friends were like touring the country. I just don't. You just can't. Like, and it was the best shit ever. Like having 10 people show up and watch it. That's such a gift, man. That's such a gift. Have 10 people.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible.
Exactly. It's like, it's crazy because it's just people don't appreciate things as much as they should in life, I don't think.
It's perspective. It's really hard to gain perspective, I mean, but at the same time, it was really hard for me to talk to Henry on the phone for a while because, his life was like really, I was really jealous of his life. And like, he had things to complain about. And as a friend, I should have been like able to hear that. But in a way, I was just like, fuck you, man. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like, I'm in this fucking office, right? You know what I mean? Like, this is you don't even know what's going on right now. But it's so true. It's like, it's all perspective for sure. And I think, just having 10, 20 people is like unreal. Like, it's just, everyone should be.
It's absolutely insane.
Because I've done shows in New York for fucking 3 people. You know what I mean? And especially, trying to have a draw in a big city is, I think, opens your eyes to that in a lot of ways. Like what 40 people in a room can mean for a night. That's like a damn good night for a
crazy
show.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah. A big thing that really got me into pushing to do what I want to do. I was listening to a lot of Gary V podcasts, and he said something that just instantly fucking struck a chord. He's like, if you are 30 years old, you still have 2 full lifetimes ahead of you. From the time you were born to 30, 2 full lifetimes to do whatever you want to do. Take that fucking year or 2 or 4 or 10 or whatever it is, because that fucking bullshit 9-to-5 job is still going to be there. You can still go grab it and still make a living in a retirement and all that shit. But don't think that because you hit 30 or you hit 35 or 40 or whatever that your life is over, because you literally have a full fucking lifetime ahead of you to do whatever you need to do. And I was like, well, yep, that's
my 30s were by far have been the best so far. I had some great times in my 20s, man, but I just feel like you spend your 20s kind of flailing and sort of running in circles, and I think that your 30s is really that time. But that said, if you're fucking 45, man, you got to be able to pivot. You always got to be able to pivot, man. And like, that's kind of my big word for people is like, if you're really trying to do something, or if you just feel like you're at a dead end, I mean, it's just ridiculous. You get one of these fucking lives, you're just going to be a miserable person in an office. I mean, I did not necessarily admire my parents' working lives, and I think that was probably a big part of it. I saw what they were doing, and I was like, that is not for me. I think I read a couple of books at a certain age. I think they're a little cliche now, but I read On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and I read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson, and which turned me on to a bunch of other books by them and other authors that essentially taught me a lesson that like, this is exactly what the fuck you make of it, and you need to like you don't want to live the way that these people live. So I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, it was just so it still is so cookie cutter, like the malls, the schools, and it's a nice life, and it's a good life to give some kids too. So I'm not even saying I'm upset that I grew up there, but man, I was especially by high school, I was like, get me the fuck out of here. I know there's more. I know there's more shit. I know there's more exciting shit to this life. And that's why I went to Florida State. I was like, I don't want to stay in North Carolina. If I stay in North Carolina, there's chances that I will like find the woman I'm going to fall in love with and get some really secure, good job coming right out of college that's like in and around the Charlotte area or whatever, and just like never fucking leave. And that was a fate worse than death for me. So I went to Florida State University. instead. Just to say I'm out. I'm like moving on. Like I'm out of it and going to. Unfortunately, I went to Florida, but FSU was fun as shit though, man. Parties were crazy. It was good stuff.
But that's just that's literally my whole fucking all of my 20s is like, God, I don't want to be the guy who comes to this same building every day for 40 years and just wastes their life away back and forth to this fucking job, because that is the most miserable sounding thing that I've ever heard.
Totally.
And I would rather just not. No, fuck that. That's just awful. And it's worse because I've got like ADHD, so having to stand in one spot for fucking 10 to 12 hours a day does not fucking work for me in the slightest bit.
Yeah, I actually did one temp job that I ended up walking away from after a couple months because I was begging them to get me a different job, and they wouldn't add a giant warehouse in like the Brooklyn Naval Yards. And it was rough, man. So I could imagine doing it for years, man. I literally, like, I almost had a mental breakdown doing that job. Like,
yes.
It was a bad scene. But yeah, man. Well, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's been It's been a good year. A lot of people said the pandemic was the worst, but I feel like that's been probably the best year of my fucking life. And it's
great to and the year that was, well, I guess 2016 was the bad year. 2017 though was like kind of when I was like kind of one of the best years of my life, and that was like the year of Trump's, getting into office, and everyone's like the sky is falling, and I'm just like, I'm actually very happy right now. Then pandemic happened, and it wasn't necessarily like a standout year per se, and I definitely struggled with being in pandemic, but my numbers fucking doubled, and I could not have been in a better position with my career for that in terms of recording from home, podcasting from home, streaming from home, right? Like I was once Lexi and I got it and then lived. I was just so happy. I think that also helped too. I got it immediately. We got like really scarily close to some scary kind of having to go to the hospital stuff.
Oof.
We came out of it. And I think if that happens to you, you're just happy you're not fucking dead.
Yeah, no shit.
So,
yeah.
then everybody being like, I cry, like I can't leave my space, and I'm scared for the people. I'm just like, I'm not in a body bag in one of those freezer trucks literally across the street from me, because I lived across the street from an emergency room in Queens. So and we saw the fucking trucks. So, and that's the other thing too that pisses me off when people at all try to like act like it's not real. I'm like, bitch, I saw the fucking freezer trucks. They were full of fucking bodies. All right. Ugh. Don't even come and talk to me about it's the people in the middle of nowhere that weren't, which again is, I come back to, everyone should have to live in like a very populated city for 1 year, because shit is so much more real there. And then you're like, oh, okay, we need these things. Like we need to take these things seriously and I see it right in front of me instead of reading it online. All right.
Yeah.
I think we did it, right?
Yeah,
you said an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well,
fucking rock and roll, man.
It's been fun.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching too. I haven't really been looking at chat much, but I see you and I hear you.
Yes,
and,
I appreciate everybody who came over from Holden's crew coming over and stopping by, hanging out. I appreciate it. But yeah, that was a good time.
So when are you going to post this? And definitely please let me know. I'd love to promote it. If someone's listening to this conversation, by the way, let me do my quick plug that if they don't know about me yet, I do a podcast called Wiz and the Bruiser. We do nerd shit, research based, talk about nerd stuff we love. Right now I'm doing Who Framed Robin Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is a lot of fun. There's a lot of interesting animation techniques there. We do Page 7, a pop culture-based podcast, and that one's awesome too. And my stream is Holdenator's Ho on Twitch. And I think that's kind of it. I mean, there's the Cowman, but it's sort of done.
I feel like you are a man of many, 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 many hats.
Yeah, dude. That's the way I like it.
Yeah, I will have this up probably within the next couple of maybe day or two on YouTube.
Right.
At youtube.com/thecaptainsin for everybody who's here. All of the old podcasts are there, ready to go. Should be up on Spotify and all of that as well in the next few days. So
hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being here.
Of course. This absolutely flew by. This is really fantastic. And Thank you so much. I love talking about this shit, and it's kind of ridiculous how much I can scream about it.
It's been fun. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.